This video is going to cover how to start the building typology study and create a beginning file. So we're going to go in, we're going to create a architectural file. We're going to use an architectural template. So we're going to go ahead and just click on architectural template here. And that's going to create us a basic file. You'll see that it's just got level 1, level 2, and what is called a site level. There's no structural levels. We'll have to add those in as we create new levels. And there's a ceiling plan levels, and then of course elevations, east, north, south, and west. There are no 3D views yet. So with this basic, what we want to do is kind of create us a temporary site, and as we do that, then we'll start to proliferate the whole model. So to do that, I'm going to open up, let's just say a north view right now, and hit WT, and WT tiles the views. And so we start out, since we have 2 levels here in floor plan, we only have 2 levels in elevation created right now. To create a site, I want to keep level 1 as 0, 0. Now, in construction documents, often these are set to the actual survey, the actual survey elevations. But in this case, we don't need to do that, nor do we really want, because it's hard to design and add to the document. So we're going to create a level here, and architecture, we're going to go up here to level, and I'm going to create it 1 foot below level 1. And the reason I'm doing that is because, as a general rule, most building codes in cities require that you have your first floor finish, the finished first floor, to be at least 1 foot above curb. Okay, and that's to prevent flooding in general rule. Now, in other places, it may even be greater than that, but most of the places that I'm familiar with, it's at least 1 foot. Lubbock, for instance, is 1 foot. So we're just going to set this at a -1 foot, and we're going to change the level name to top, and we'll just, I'd usually put TOC, but we're going to type this out so that you can remember what this is. Top of curve. Okay, and you'll see that it created another level over here called top of curve, because every time you create a level, it creates a plan view. You'll notice that also it created a structural plan. Okay, and so with that done, now we're ready to set in a kind of temporary site. Okay, just kind of placeholder site mass. And to do that placeholder site mass, I'm going to use, there's 2 massing procedures in Revit. One is the massing procedure here in site, which is great if you're doing a mass study of the whole building. But I wouldn't use this mass if I'm just building a component or a part of the Revit model. What I would use is I go into architecture and use what is known as a component. And in components, there's a place of component, and that could be a mass that's already been created and is in some kind of family. In other words, you can create masses in families, and I could just bring that in and drop it in, or model in place. In this case, we're going to model in place, and you can see the little video. It's giving you pictures of different types of masses that might be done for modeling in place. In this case, I'm going to go down, and I can give it a category so that I can turn it off and control it. As explained in earlier videos with Linda, is that Revit doesn't work in layers, it works in categories. And so when you turn things off, you turn off a category of objects. You don't turn off a particular layer of objects. So if we go into site here, I'm going to say this is a site element, okay, and we'll just call it site mass. We could call it curb, whatever, but I'm just going to call it site mass. And now we're ready to draw the site. In this case, all I'm going to do is do an extrusion. So I'm going to make the profile and then extrude it vertically. The next thing I'm going to do though is this is on level. Before I do that, I'm going to go floor plan level 1, and so I'm going to change that. I'm going to go to open up top of curb level. Well, actually no, I want to do this from, yeah, top of curb. And so I'm going to WT it, and now it's over here, so that's fine. And I'm going to draw me a mass. So I'm going to go extrusion. It's going to start at the top of level. It's going to start at 0, 0, which is top of curb, and then it's going to extrude it in a positive direction of 1 foot. And I don't really want it to go in the positive. I want it to go in the negative. So I'm going to set this, as negative, so that when it draws it, it extrudes it away from me, in a sense, in this view, rather than towards me. And then I'm going to go in and define the boundaries. So I'm going to draw some lines, and I'm just going to throw in a rectangle right now, and I'm going to make this rectangle, and it's easiest when you're dealing with masses and elements in Revit to just throw in something and then edit it, rather than try to get the actual dimensions perfect when you put it in. I've found. So I'm going to set this to 75 feet, and then I'm going to set the distance from here to here, okay, to 100 feet. And now I have my site, and I'm going to say OK. And you'll notice that when I said OK, it disappeared, okay, in top of curve. Well, there's a couple of reasons why that could have happened. First is visibility graphics. I'm going to go into edit. Oops, cancel. Need to get into the view. Oh, I got to finish the model. I'm sorry. And then I'm going to go into edit visibility graphics, and up is going to pop this dialog box. I'll bring that over and kind of size it to our video capture. And you'll notice mass isn't checked, and so there are a lot of different types of masses. If I check this box, all of these types of masses will be visible in that view. Okay, mass view is turned off in all layers as a default. So if you want to see masses, you have to 9 times out of 10 you're going to have to turn on the mass category. But we still don't see it. Okay, so we still don't see it. So the next thing I'm going to do is look at what is called the view range. Okay, and the view range here, as we can see, there's the top, and this is a top clipping plane. There's the cut plane where we're cutting, and then the bottom is set to 0. Okay, so that's the 0 cutting plane. Well, what do I mean by cutting planes? Well, in the help, okay, let's see if I can kind of get this into the window. Okay, whoops, went max on me. I don't want that. I'm going to resize this a little bit, pull it over so that you can see it, but so that you can also see hopefully this. Okay, so let's go over just a hair more. Okay, this will work. Okay, so this top clipping plane, okay, the primary range, this is a clipping plane. It's going to clip everything out of the model that is 7 foot 6 inches from the associated level of top of curve. So from the top of the curve up, it's only going to show 7 foot 6 inches. That's okay. The next is, if it has any objects, it's going to cut them for the plan view at 4 feet. Now that we've determined that mass objects have been turned on the layer, the next thing we're going to do is check for the view range. Okay, and it's the bottom. If you click on the view and then you scroll down, you'll see right here view range, and we're going to click on edit, and we're going to look at, this is what they call the different clip planes here. And I'm going to bring over actually the an image that'll help explain it from Revit Help, and you'll see there's these 1, 2, 3, views here. This is the top clip plane, this is the bottom clipping plane, and then this is the what we call the cut plane. Okay, and the cut plane is where the horizontal section is cut. You know, this is a good example right here. So here at the top, we want the top of this particular view range to be the top of the curb, and we're going to go up about probably 8 feet. It'll be, or 7'6" is fine. And then we want the cut to actually be probably down around 2 feet. And then the bottom of the cut plane, that bottom cut plane, if we go back here, that's this cut plane right here, or this clipping plane right here. We're going to set that to about a -2. And it's giving me an error saying this is further down than the view depth. And if we go back to the view depth of this is this right here. So if we turn on the capability to kind of see an overlay of what's below this, the view depth comes into play on the overlay when we turn the overlay feature on. So I'm going to set this, since our basement's going to go down to about 20 feet, I'm going to set the 20 feet here. I'm going to apply this. -20 feet, sorry. Not a positive, but a -20 feet. Apply. Okay, and you'll see that then, voila, our mass, our site mass has appeared. Okay, so we've got our site set up. Well, I take that back. The site view, still don't see the mass. So let's go into site, the site view. Let's check visibility graphics to see mass is turned on. Oh, they aren't. We'll say apply. Okay. We still don't see them. So now let's go down to the view range, and they've set the cut plane way up high so that the site will show as a roof 2. The bottom offset is 0. Well, you can see view depth. So I'm going to go down and say, hey, let's take this down to a -2 feet. Okay, and then let's take this down to about a -2 feet too. Okay, as long as these two things are set the same, view depth and bottom, we're okay. So I'm going to apply that, say okay, and then once again now in sight we're going to get our mass right there. Let's say we wanted to put some curves on that so that we have, you know, turning radiuses, just to show you how to edit this mass. And so I'm going to go in here, go to modify, edit in place, and then I'm going to select this and say edit the extrusion. In other words, what's being extruded, and you'll see our little magenta lines appear once again. And I'm just going to put a fillet. This is the fillet command right here, and we want a radius, and we want that radius to be about 15 feet. And boom, 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 and the last one. And so now we're going to, what we're doing is first we're accepting the extrusion shape, and now we're going to accept the actual extrusion, the whole finished model. Okay, so it's a two-step process there. The other thing we haven't talked about is something that appeared right here, which is there's two elements in it actually, and let's just go to full here and we'll zoom in. I want you to look at these. Okay, and these are turned on. This is called the survey point, and this is called the project base point. Okay. And what do these determine? Okay, well, they determine, this determines kind of the base point for the project. Notice when I move it, okay, that the north, south, east, and west, the axes change. Okay, this also establishes the base elevation. Now this is the survey point, and this is determined or used when we put survey instruments in. So this is our 0, 0. Okay, if we put both of these on top of each other, okay, and we select, let's see if I can do it here. There's the project base. Notice the project base now is 0, 0. If I move it off of the survey point, let's see if I can grab a hold of it. There we go. Notice it changed. -4, 7. Well, that's a relationship to the survey point itself. So if we wanted the model's base to be 0, 0 right there, okay, and we said this is going to be 0, 0, and then our project base point we might set on top of that. But before I set it on top, the other thing that we can set is what is called the angle to true north. Okay, in Revit we have what is called project north and what is called true north, and depending on whether we have the view set to project north or true north depends on the orientation. Now if the true north and project north are the same, then there's no difference. But let's say that true north was actually a -11 degrees. Okay, in other words 349 degrees bearing, or something like that. In other words, it's just slightly in this direction, but we don't want to draw at that weird angle. What we want to do is we want to draw maybe to true north. Okay, so this is used for the sun and where the sun comes up and comes down, and for the project we're going to use vertically up, okay, which is called project north. Now if we go to a view, let me show you. If you look right over here, it says orientation. This is project north. It's set to project north. But notice now that I've changed true north, if I set this and apply it, notice everything tilted 11 degrees. Okay, so you can have true north and you can have what is called project north. Okay? And that's really kind of important and useful. Okay, so if you have a building that's at a weird angle, okay, you can set that weird angle. Say we wanted to put a building at an angle across here, we might establish that angle as project north so that the building is always square in our views and easier to draw. Okay, I know that's a long answer, but okay, so we'll just say, okay, here's our survey point, here's our base 0, 0, and notice it's at an angle because we've established true north is having an angle. And then notice when I moved that, I moved the project itself. Okay, so the project base point. So if I move this, then notice the project moved away from this survey point because this is assumed to be 0, 0. Kind of an important concept in the long run. Initially, not a big deal. Okay. So let's get drawing now our building, and that's what we're going to start with is the structural system of the building.